Dell XPS is a line of gaming and performance computers manufactured by Dell. History: the XPS name dates back to 1993 when Dell at the time was more focused on corporate business than consumers. Gateway was number one in the high-end consumer market. In early 1993 there was a staff meeting to address how to pursue this emerging market. At this time Dell turned over less than $500 million a year and Michael Dell was involved in most decisions. At this meeting it was decided to launch a new high-end product line to beat Gateway. Vernon Weiss was assigned as product manager to spearhead and manage the new product. In September 1993 the first two versions of the new XPS line were announced. The first generation of the XPS system was available as either a desktop or a tower. This new product line was so far ahead of the competition that it was featured on the cover of the October 1993 issue of PC Computing. For the next 3 years with Vernon Weiss managing the product line, the XPS systems won over 100 magazine reviews and covers, being the first to adopt the latest PC technology available and bring it to the consumers at an attractive price. From 1997 to 2001, as Dell grew into a large corporation, the XPS line lost its position as the leading-edge performance machines and became essentially just a line for fast computers. In 2005 Dell revamped their XPS line as a direct assault on the market share of companies such as Alienware and Falcon Northwest. In 2005 Dell separated their home desktop systems into two lines, Dimension and XPS. Their home notebooks were also separated into two lines, Inspiron and XPS. While the XPS designation used to mean the hardware was high-end and well-suited for gaming, that is no longer the case. For example, the XPS 200 is limited to extremely low-end video cards, while the XPS M140 is only configurable with Intel Video, thus making both systems unsuited for gaming or high-end usage. Starting 2002, Dell considered buying Alienware, but did not take any action until March 22, 2006, when it agreed to purchase the company. The new subsidiary maintained its autonomy in terms of design and marketing. However, Alienware's access to Dell's supply chain, purchasing power, and economies of scale would lower its operating costs. Initially, Dell maintained the XPS line, often selling computers with the same specifications as those offered by the Alienware division. Due to corporate restructuring in the spring of 2008, the XPS brand was scaled down and then discontinued. In 2008 the former XPS line became known as Studio XPS, and Dell advertised it as a performance computer line while Alienware was being advertised for gaming. On June 2, 2009, the M17X was introduced as the first Alienware Dell-branded system. XPS desktop computers current XPS desktops equals XPS 127 inches. The Dell XPS 127 is an all-in-one PC that, hence its name, features a 27-inch screen with a resolution of 2560 pixels wide and a height of 1440 pixels. It is the recipient of CNET's 2012 Editor's Choice Award, and it was also awarded as PCMag's Best All-in-One PC of 2012. CNET editor Rich Brown, who authored the review awarding the XPS 127 inches the Editor's Choice Award, noted that it boasts the highest display resolution among Windows 8 all-in-ones, and at an aggressive price. On its page discussing PCMag's selections for the best products of the year, it said that the all-in-one manages to put almost every technology and feature we're looking for in a compact stylish chassis. There are reports from many buyers complaining of a quality control issue on the screen. There are dust particles trapped between the screen and the touch panel. Some buyers even received several exchanges or screens replacements and the issue still remains. Some people may not notice but turning the brightness up will show these spots. They look like dead pixels. http Reviews Dell COM XPS 127-2710A Views HTM Sort equals rating and DIR equals ask. XPS 8500, released on May 2, 2012. The Dell XPS 8500 is the first version in this series to have the third-generation Intel quad-core i5 and i7 processor added to it. This version of the XPS's motherboard uses the Intel chipset H77 with socket LGA1155 and has USB 3.0 ports built into the front. The special edition version of this desktop comes standard with such advanced features as an Intel Core i7, Blu-ray drive and 32GB Intel SRT SSD mounted on the motherboard to enhance the operational speed of the traditional hard disk. See Dell's official release notification here. System specifications memory, type and buffered, non-ECC, quad-channel DDR3, speed, up to 1600 MHz, capacities, 2 GB, 4 GB and 8 GB, supported configurations, 2 GB, 4 GB, 8 GB, 12 GB, 16 GB and 32 GB. Minimum, 2 GB, maximum, 32 GB, video controllers, integrated, Intel HD Graphics 2500/4000, additional, NVIDIA GeForce GT 620 to 1 GB GDDR5, NVIDIA GeForce GT 640 to 1 GB GDDR5, NVIDIA GeForce GTX 660 to 1.5 GB GDDR5, AMD Radeon HD 7570 to 1 GB GDDR5, AMD Radeon HD 7770 to 2 GB GDDR5, AMD Radeon HD 7870 to 2 GB GDDR5. Video memory, integrated, up to 1 GB, additional, 1 GB GDDR5 and 2 GB GDDR5. Communications, network adapter, 101,000 integrated network card, wireless, Wi-Fi 802.11bn, Bluetooth 4.0. XPS 8300, WLAN, chip, Broadcom BCM4313 plus FCCID. QDSBR CM1050 plus Dell Wireless 1501 WLAN half mini card, specification BCM4313BN 115-bit Chip, Broadcom BCM4322 plus FCCID, QDSBR CM1031 plus Dell Wireless 1510 Wireless and WLAN mini card, specification BCM4322 AGN Draft 300-bit Chip, Broadcom BCM43-224 plus FCCID, QDSBR CM1041 plus Dell Wireless 1520 Wireless and WLAN mini card, specification BCM43224 AGN 300-bit The DW1520 card, and the DW1501 card are IEEE 802.11n certified. Studio XPS, the Studio XPS, also referred to as Studio XPS 435MT, was released November 16, 2008. This is a PC with performance somewhat between the XPS 420 and 630. Its processor is the Intel Core i7. The current Studio XPS models, however, are not as gamer-oriented, with only one PCIe X16 slot and a 475W power supply. It has RAIDO/1 support, however, as well as the capability of up to 24 GB of RAM. Later this model was renamed to the Studio XPS 9000. XPS 630. Description now no longer available from Dell as a new system purchase, but is in factory outlet. This desktop at one time filled the gap between the media-oriented XPS 420/430 and the high-end XPS 730X. There is no physical difference, between the 630 and the 630i. The marketing concept was to use an I to designate systems installed with an Intel chipset, and an A for systems with AMD installed chipsets, but since Intel-based chipsets were the only models ever sold, this designation holds little significance. The 630 features a Dell-modified NVIDIA N4650i chipset that supports both SLI and Crossfire configurations, but lacks ESA certification printed circuit board. The XPS 630 at one time came standard with an Intel Core 2-quad Q6600 CPU and dual NVIDIA GeForce 8800 GT graphics cards. Problems and solutions. There were several issues with the XPS 630, including problems with the chassis fan control, chassis LED lights, a non-shipment of the LightFX 2.0 light show control software, limited PCIe slot configuration, constant HDD LED activity, and a reliability issue due to a problem inherent in the NVIDIA 650 ISLI chipset that can surface when overclocking with 4 or more gigabytes of RAM. The problems resulted in PCPRO revoking their recommended award for the system. The July 22, 2009 release of a Softex Media plugin has provided some of the features originally advertised in LightFX. BIOS updates were issued to patch the constant HDD LED activity. Some 630i owners have bypassed the aforementioned problems by swapping out the Dell modified 650i motherboard with OEM motherboards such as the EVGA Force 780 ISLI FTW. The motherboard has 8 lanes wired for each PCIe slot, which can restrict performance if using a single high-performance graphics card. Performance is equivalent to other systems with 650i chipset motherboards when using 2 graphics cards in SLI mode. XPS 625, a version of the XPS 630 but with AMD Phenom 2 chips and ATI graphics. XPS 120 and XPS 124, released on November 19, 2007, the Dell XPS 1 is an all-in-one desktop designed for minimal fuss and maximum cordless connectivity, and ships with the power cord, and a wireless keyboard with a touchpad and wireless mouse prepared to the system. The XPS 1 comes in 20-inch and 24-inch models. The 20-inch model has an Intel Core 2 Duo E4500, while the 24-inch model has an Intel Core 2 Quad Q8200. The 20-inch model has 2 GB of dual-channel DDR2 SDRAM at 667 MHz, while the 24-inch model has 4 GB of dual-channel DDR2 SDRAM at 800 MHz. The XPS 120 has integrated Intel GMA 3100 graphics, while the XPS 124 has integrated Intel GMA 10500 HD graphics, and can be customized with an NVIDIA GeForce 9600M GT graphics card when chosen with product. The XPS 120 has a WSXGA resolution with 16.7 million colors, a 1000:1 contrast ratio, an 80° viewing angle, and a 5 milliseconds response time. The XPS 124 has a WXGA resolution with 16.7 million colors, a 1200:1 contrast ratio, an 89° viewing angle, and a 6 milliseconds response time. The 20-inch model has integrated high-definition audio and 10-watt stereo speakers, while the 24-inch model has Sound Blaster Audigy HD software with 25-watt premium JBL speakers with an integrated subwoofer. The XPS 120 and XPS 124 were subsequently discontinued by Dell. XPS 18, the Dell XPS 18 was announced in April 2013. It is an all-in-one computer that also functions as a large tablet. It has a screen size of 18.4 inches. Previous XPS desktops XPS H series, a system that came out circa 1996/97. It contained an Intel Pentium 2 CPU, EDO DRAM, and an i440FX chipset. XPS D series, a system that came out in 1997. It contained an Intel Pentium 2 CPU, SDRAM, and an i440LX chipset. XPS R series, a system that came out in 1998. It contained an Intel Pentium 2 CPU, SDRAM, and an i440BX chipset. XPS T series, a system that came out in 1999. It contained an Intel Pentium 3 CPU, SDRAM, and an i440BX chipset. An R suffix was used for socket 370 versions, while no suffix was used for slot 1 versions. XPS B series, a system that came out in 2000. It contained an Intel Pentium 3 CPU, 128 MB of DRAM, an 80-rage graphics card, and an i820 chipset. An A suffix was used for socket 370 versions, while no suffix was used for slot 1 versions. Later models had a built-in DVD drive. XPS Gen 2 included Pentium 4 processor with hyper-threading technology, supports SATA and IDE hard drives, 1 AGP slot, 4 PCI slots, Sound Blaster audio squared, and Dell wireless keyboard and mouse. Video card included was ATI Radeon 9800 Pro. 3. It was powered by a 460-watt proprietary power supply and featured decorative LEDs on the front of the case that the user could change the colors of in the BIOS. XPS Gen 5 used a Pentium 4 HT processor with 512 kilobytes, 1 megabyte, or 2 megabytes of L2 cache. It can support up to 8 GB of DDR2 memory at 533 MHz or 667 MHz. XPS 210, a small form factor case that is 67% smaller than the XPS 410. It does not use full-size PCI slots. The XPS 200 is aimed at being a low-impact machine, meaning it blends in better with the room's features. It is more of a multimedia computer than an actual gaming machine, despite the XPS name. The main difference between the XPS 210 and its predecessor, the XPS 200, is the upgrade to the Intel Core 2 Duo processor line. This makes the XPS 210 faster than the XPS 200. XPS 200, this model was available from late 2005 to the end of the third quarter of 2006. It was replaced by the XPS 210, which is nearly identical to its predecessor. The main exception in this case is the upgrade to an Intel Core 2 Duo processor and other minor adjustments. XPS 400, this model was available during late 2005 and the first half of 2006. It was replaced by the XPS 410, which is nearly identical with the exception of an optional Intel Core 2 Duo processor and slightly different audio and video card options. XPS 410, the former intermediate model of the XPS series and bigger brother to the Dimension E510. It features a base configuration of an Intel Core 2 Duo processor, and a 2.4 GHz Core 2 quad is also available as an option. Other base options include the NVIDIA GeForce 7300 LE, 7200 RPM's SATA 300 hard drive, and dual-channel DDR2 RAM. The case is nearly identical to that of the Dimension E510, with an additional 3.5-inch drive bay being added. The case is physically taller because of this. The power supply is also slightly more powerful than the Dimension E510. The XPS 410 replaced the XPS 400. It was replaced by the XPS 420. XPS 410 units were also sold as the Dimension 9200, allowing Dell to continue selling remaining units after the XPS 410 was discontinued. In an odd twist, the Dimension 9200 was the final desktop in the Dimension line, effectively making an XPS unit the last in the Dimension family. XPS 430, similar to 420, with DDR3 RAM and without the LCD on the computer chassis. XPS 420, now discontinued, it features similar components to the XPS 410, but it used different case design and new features. This was Dell's media-based computer featuring the Dell Accelerator, and an LCD screen in the case, running Windows Vista Sideshow. As usual with the 420 line of XPSs, it did not allow for SLI graphics. XPS 600, the former flagship model of the XPS series that features an Intel dual-core Pentium D950 processor, dual NVIDIA GeForce 7900 GTX in SLI mode, 7200 RPM's SATA hard drive, and dual-channel DDR2 RAM. This case has not changed significantly over the past several generations, with the large aluminum plate on the front. discontinued a few days after XPS 700 launch and succeeded by the XPS 700. XPS 700, targeted at the gaming community, this model featured the Intel Pentium D Extreme processors in speeds up to 3.7 GHz with dual NVIDIA GeForce 7900 GTX in SLI mode, a 7200 RPM's SATA hard drive and dual-channel DDR2 RAM. This desktop was advertised as being overclockable but was not. Dell would later offer a free XPS 720 motherboard upgrade program to all XPS 700 and 710 owners so that these machines could be overclocked with the BIOS. While the aluminum case featured a distinctive leaning design, the XPS 700 used significantly larger power supplies than the other XPS models to accommodate higher-end video cards and overclocked CPUs. Unlike its forerunners, it used a non-standard BTX motherboard, thereby limiting upgradability. It was replaced by the XPS 710 and many customers were offered a free motherboard upgrade to XPS 720 specification following complaints about the system. XPS 710, the formal flagship model of the XPS series that features the new Intel Core 2 Duo and Core 2 Extreme processors, as well as Core 2 Quad processors. Other features include dual NVIDIA GeForce 7950 GX2 in Quad SLI mode, 7200 RPM's SATA hard drive, dual-channel DDR2 RAM. The XPS 710 uses significantly larger power supplies than the other XPS models to accommodate higher-end video cards and overclocked CPUs. It was replaced by the XPS 720. XPS 720 H2C. The H2C edition computer has included a dual-stage radiator cooling technology, and a motherboard capable of overclocking its quad-core Intel Core 2 Extreme QX6800. The H2C comes standard with dual NVIDIA GeForce 8800 GTX cards running in SLI at a price of $6,780. The XPS 720 H2C uses slightly higher quality parts than the other XPS classes and is currently one of the most powerful and one of the fastest pre-built systems that an individual can purchase by a significant margin. Hampering its overall performance, however, are the locations of the PCIe 16X slots. In an ideal SLI configuration, the 16X slots must be close enough. The second 16X is at the far edge of the board. This is now not available in the United Kingdom. In the United States, the XPS 720 H2C is only available through Dell Outlet now, meaning no new computers of this model are being manufactured. XPS 720, announced on November 24, 2007, the XPS 720 is the same as the XPS 720 H2C, except it does not have the dual-stage radiator cooling technology. It comes in two versions, the Red Special Edition, which is the same as the black normal one. They both come with a 1 kilowatt power supply. This is now not available in the UK. Like the XPS 720 H2C, this is only available in the US through Dell Outlet. XPS 730 H2C, this was Dell's latest high-performance gaming computer. It had H2C as standard, which was ideal for gaming and overclocking. Its motherboard, the NVIDIA GeForce 790i Ultra, was capable of overclocking its quad-core Intel Core 2 Extreme QX9770 up to 3.64 GHz. Dual-channel DDR3 SDRAM system memory was available in United States and UK. There was a choice of colors also at some outlets. The basic model specs of the PC were Intel Core 2 Extreme processor QX9650, dual 1GB ATI Radeon 3870X2 Crossfire X graphics card, 2GB memory, 1TB 7200 RPM's dual HDD. The base price in the UK was £2,499. The system also came with an improved H2C cooling device, seen on ultra-high gaming computers. This has since been replaced by the XPS 730X. XPS 730X H2C, released on November 16, 2008, It is basically an XPS 730 with a new Intel Core i7 which also used the new Intel X58 chipset motherboards. The 730X, when configured with the Core i7 975 Extreme Edition, can be factory overclocked to 3.73 GHz with the H2 ceramic cooling option. The 730X also integrates Alienware's Alien FX and a new theater lighting system. The internals of the 730X have also been redone for ease of upgrades, although most of the inside remains the same. The 730X supported a tri-channel of 6 GB of DDR3. The graphics card support was either a dual or single NVIDIA GeForce GTX 285, or a single ATI Radeon HD 4870X2. The 730X operating system also supported 64-bit Windows. Dell internally discontinued the XPS 730X in its U.S. online store on or around August 1, 2009 and cancelled any remaining orders after August 15, 2009. It has been mentioned that this was done to focus more attention for customers seeking gaming computers, such as Alienware. The desktop was officially discontinued on September 17, 2009. See the Wikipedia article on the Dell XPS 730X for more details. XPS laptop computers. Current XPS laptops Dell returned to develop their XPS performance line. The three new laptops, released in October 2010, have many new features and specifications from the old models. They feature JBL speakers with Waves Maux Audio 3 technology, and have integrated 3D graphics. The line is the first to be Skype certified for video chat. They have Intel i5 and i7 processors. The XV upgrade offered by Dell is not actually a hardware upgrade but a software-based processing package which provides premium audio quality, effects and features. XPS 17, the Dell XPS 17, released in October 2010, is a new desktop replacement laptop in the XPS laptop line. It is priced at $949 for the base configuration, but can be customized heavily. Options include a processor upgrade up to the new Intel Core i7 840QM, an NVIDIA 445M GT 3GB graphics card, up to 16 GB of DDR3 RAM memory, 1.28 TB hard drive space, a 17.3-inch 1600x900 resolution screen, and a Blu-ray disc drive. XPS 17, same as L701X, except this model contains the second-generation Intel Core i7 processors and capability for Full HD display and Full HD 3D display. Also, the discrete graphics have been improved to the newest NVIDIA GT 550M 1GB graphics card or NVIDIA GT 555M 3GB graphics card for Full HD 3D display. Can be customized with up to 16 GB of DDR3 RAM or 32 GB of RAM with the 3D model-only model. HMT41GS6MFR8 CSUs have been reported with the charging port and the charger falling out with the only slight movements. XPS 15 Touch, the Dell XPS 15 touchscreen laptop was first released in October 2013, is a high-end, premium class and very potent multimedia notebook. It is the fourth-generation XPS 15, which has taken many of the design elements of the Ivy Bridge Edition XPS 15 but fixes the cooling throttling, adds a Horsewell CPU and an updated 750M NVIDIA GPU, ditches the optical drive, and on the higher-end SKUs you get an ultra-high-resolution 3200x1800 display. Buyers looking for notebooks in this category expect a perfect design, superior build quality, and lots of power. Use it as Windows-based alternative to Apple MacBook Pro 15. The XPS 15 ships with Windows 8.1 and carries a 1-year on-site warranty. Worth mention is that there are 3 different models of the new XPS 15 available right now. The base model XPS 15 comes with a 1920x1080 touchscreen display, 500GB HDD with 32GB SSD cache, dual-core i5-4200H CPU, 8GB RAM, integrated HD 4400 graphics, and a 61Wh battery for $1,500. Stepping up to the $1,950 XPS 15 will get you the quad-core i7-4702 headquarters CPU, 3200x1800 pps touchscreen, 16GB RAM, GT750M GDDR5 GPU, a 1TB HDD with 32GB SSD cache, and a 61Wh battery. The high-end $2,350 edition is mostly the same as the $1,950 model, but it dumps HDD storage completely in favor of a 512GB mSATA SSD and adds a larger 91Wh battery in place of the 2.5 drive. The 2015 update includes an 15.6-inch ultra-sharper 4cents Ultra HD touch display. The system's QHD Plus screen has 10-point touch, and responds well to standard Windows 8.1 swipes and commands. Edge-to-edge Gorilla Glass NBT covers the screen. The chiclet keys of backlight keyboard are matte black and feature a slightly concave surface area. The 9530 has been criticized for the instability of 802.11 AC Wi-Fi. Currently this model has an issue with respect to an annoying electrical hissing noise called coil whine. The problem has been reported by a lot of customers on the Dell community forums. On October 8, 2015, Dell refreshed the XPS 15 with the Skylake microarchitecture. A 15.6-inch Infinity Edge display is fit into the body of a relatively small notebook, this redesigned model offering PCIe SSDs up to 1 TB, up to 32GB of DDR4 RAM through 2 SODIMM slots, NVIDIA GeForce GTX 960M with 2GB GDDR5, a 3x3800 2.11 AC Wi-Fi card, and featuring Thunderbolt 3 through Type-C. XPS 15. The XPS 15 was released in October 2010 and is a 15.6-inch laptop. Its base price at release is $849 and it can be customized up to the Intel Core i7. It is equipped with a 2010 NVIDIA GT435M or 420M video card, and can be customized with up to 8GB of DDR3 memory. This makes it a good gaming laptop. The base model comes with 500GB 7200 RPMs SATA hard drive. The computer can either have a 640GB 7200 RPMs SATA hard drive, or a 256GB solid-state drive. It also contains a 16x DVD Blu-ray reader burner, and a 9-inch-1 media card reader. The screen resolution is either 1366 768 or 1920 1080. The NVIDIA graphics card used in Dell 15 turns off or on automatically for specific applications demanding dedicated graphics. It has integrated JBL 2.1 speakers plus Waves Morse audio enhancement. It is equipped with 2MP webcam. It has 2 USB 3.0 ports and 1 eSATA port. XPS 15. It incorporates Intel Core OE Sandy Bridge i5 and i7 quad-core processors. The basic features of this laptop are same as the L501X model, but these offer the Intel second-generation Core i7 processors. It is also equipped with NVIDIA GT 1GB 525M or 2GB 540M video card, and can be customized with up to 16GB of DDR3 RAM model, HMT41GS6MFR8C. The computer can either have a 1TB 7200 RPMs SATA hard drive, 750GB 7200 RPMs SATA hard drive, or a 256GB solid-state drive but have been upgraded aftermarket to 512GB SSD. Some users have gone beyond the normal factory specification and sometimes custom install Intel Core i7-2860QM CPU at 2.5 GHz, which gives it a tremendous performance increase. It comes with JBL 2.1 speakers plus Waves Morse audio enhancement. Sound quality is comparable to a mini high-fidelity sound system and also boasts onboard 5.1 Dolby digital output via coaxial SPDIF on the same analog output port. Analog audio provides up to 4 channels using analog outputs. It has 1x HDMI port, 1x mini display port, 2x USB 3.0 ports, 1x eSATA and a built-in SDXC/MMC, MIS/Pro card reader. Some models come with an N-Trig touchscreen display with a Blu-ray writer as optional. Some models have a non-touchscreen 1080i display. XPS 15Z. The XPS 15Z was released in May 2011 and is a 15.6-inch laptop. It is branded as the thinnest 15-inch PC on the market. It is noted for having a very similar design to the current generation Apple MacBook Pro computer, and even sported a silver aluminum casing. Its base price at release is $999 and it can be customized up to the dual-core Intel Core i7. It is equipped with an NVIDIA GeForce GT 525M 1GB video card, and can be customized up to 8GB of DDR3 memory. The computer can either have a 750GB 7200 RPMs hard drive or a 256GB solid-state drive. It also contains a 8x slot-loading CD/DVD reader burner. The American version has a base screen resolution of 1366 768, while the Australian release is 1920 1080 pixels. On September 6, 2011, Dell upgraded the choices for the optional extra Core i5 and i7 processors. Throughout its production, the XPS 15Z was plagued with DCP latency-related sound spikes due to faulty network drivers proved by Dell. The solution was to use third-party drivers, as discovered by a community of forum users. Production of the XPS 15Z ceased in the first half of 2012, but its design was carried on by the XPS 14Z. XPS 14. This XPS was released in the summer of 2011 and is a 14-inch HD WLED screen with resolution up to 1366x768 bundled in Intel Core 13-370M processor, 4GB 1333 MHz DDR3 SDRAM. Its base price at release is $999 and it can be customized up to the 3rd generation Intel Core i5. It is equipped with a 2011 1GB NVIDIA GeForce GT 420M graphics, and can be customized with up to 8GB of DDR3 memory. The computer can either have a 500GB 7200 RPMs SATA hard drive, or a 256GB solid-state drive. This laptop has a sleek anodized aluminium LCD back cover. It also had world's first camera with high-definition video streaming with Skype, JBL 2.0 speakers with Waves Maux Audio V3.0 enhancement for a 6-way audio performance, biometric, fast access facial recognition system. XPS 14. The XPS 14 was released in the summer of 2012 and is a 14-inch laptop. Its base price at release is $999 and it can be customized up to the 3rd generation Intel Core i7. It is equipped with a 2012 NVIDIA GT 630M or Intel HD Graphics 4000, and can be customized with up to 8GB of DDR3 memory. The computer can either have a 500GB 7200 RPMs SATA hard drive, or a 256GB solid-state drive. This laptop is an ultrabook featuring a long battery life and a sleek aluminium unibody shell. XPS 13. The Dell XPS 13 was unveiled at CES 2012. It is the company's first ultrabook, a term coined by Intel. The XPS 13 features a 13.3-inch screen and uses flash memory to help with fast booting. The XPS 13 features certain unique design elements. The edges are rounded and the bottom is made of carbon fiber, with a gentle silicone surface treatment. Note: Intel chipset is 2nd generation i-series. Dell also offers a developer's version of the XPS 13 running Ubuntu Linux. XPS 13, the slightly heavier, revised version of L321X. Difference with the previous version include 4 to 8 DDR3L RAM, up to 1600 MHz, Mobile Intel 7 Series Express chipset QS77, Intel HD 4000 graphics instead of 3000, 2 USB 3.0 ports, an upgraded wireless card, and a 13.3-inch HD LED, HDF HD True Life with Gorilla Glass LCD. Note: Intel chipset is 3rd generation i-Series. XPS 13, released in 2013. Includes a 13.3 inches LED backlit touchscreen display with 1920 x 1080 resolution and Corning Gorilla Glass, Intel Core 4th generation i5-4200U or i7-4500U processor, Windows 8.1, Intel HD graphics 4400, 4GB or 8GB dual-channel DDR3 1600 MHz RAM, 128GB or 256GB mSATA SSD, Intel dual-band wireless AC7260 plus Bluetooth wireless, and 55 Wh 6-cell battery. Note: Intel chipset is 4th generation i-Series. However, Dell has not fixed the issue with this generation, a high-pitched noise emitting from the keyboard area to the right. XPS 13, announced at CES and released in January 2015, the latest XPS 13 comes with the new Intel Broadwell processors and a renovated 3200x1800 touchscreen of 13.3 inches set in a very thin frame, and claims up to 15 hours of battery life and many other improvements. Note: Intel chipset is 5th generation i-Series. XPS 12. The XPS 12 is a convertible laptop. The convertible mirrors the general aesthetic of the Dell XPS 13 Ultrabook and other models in the XPS lineup, although the hybrid swaps out its predecessor's aluminum look for a carbon fiber exterior. The lid and exterior edge are framed by a machined aluminum edge, while the interior consists of a magnesium alloy palm rest coated in matte black paint. The Dell XPS 12's body was made with a fingerprint-resisting coating. It possesses a hinged, flip-screen LCD. Applying a push to the top of the screen frees the display from the magnetic locks that hold it in place. 12.5 inches, 1920 x 1080 resolution, 400 nit brightness. The convertible's 1.7 GHz Core i5-3317U processor sports Intel HD graphics 4000 integrated graphics, which combine with 4 GB of RAM and a 128 GB solid-state drive and Core i5 processor, but ups the memory to 8 GB and the storage to 256 GB. Some models' configuration includes the Core i7 processor, 8 GB of RAM, and the 256 GB SSD. In July 2013, Dell released its XPS 12 with Intel Horsewell processor. This upgrade came as a boost in the Ultrabook's performance as well as battery life. Dell also added near-field communication in this device. This model is available in a few countries only, including the United States. Previous XPS laptops. XPS 10. The XPS 10 was an ARM-based convertible tablet with a keyboard stand running Windows RT, similar to the Microsoft Surface. The tablet was unveiled on August 30, 2012 and discontinued in September 2013. Studio XPS 16, released early January 2009, it features a 15.6-inch 720p or a 16.0-inch 1080p 16:9 aspect ratio screen. It is equipped with either a 512MB ATI Radeon HD 3670 or 1024MB ATI Radeon HD 4670 graphics card, an Intel Core 2 Duo processor, a DVD+/RW or a Blu-ray RAM combo drive, and Windows Vista or Windows 7. It has an illuminated QWERTY keyboard and leather accents on the lid are optional. Its full body is onyx black and silver. Studio XPS 16, same as above, featuring a quad-core Intel Core i7 Clarksfield processor on an Intel PM55 chipset mainboard and a 1GB ATI Mobility Radeon HD 4670 or 5730. Some of these XPS systems were found to have throttling issues when demanding applications like games were run on them. Dell was able to provide a fix for the issue with the help of community input. The fix involved BIOS updates and a more powerful AC adapter. Other laptops were also found to suffer from the same throttling issue. Studio XPS 16, same as above, featuring a dual-core Intel Core i5 or Intel Core i7 Clarksfield processor. The M1647 motherboard still uses the Intel PM55 chipset, but overall the motherboard uses less power than its predecessor. XPS M1730. The XPS M1730 was announced on October 5, 2007 as the newest 17-inch XPS laptop computer. Compared to its predecessor, the XPS M1710, the model M1730 was physically redesigned with a completely new chassis available in a gray, white, blue, or red. Like the M1710, the M1730 offered unique user and software changeable LED lighting in the touchpad, fan outlets inlets, as well as the lid and speaker grills. Also like its predecessor, it featured a 17-inch widescreen. From the component's angle, it supported overclockable Intel Core 2 Extreme processors, dual NVIDIA GeForce 9800M GTX video cards in SLI, up to two 7200 RPMs SATA hard drives available in RAID, and up to 8 GB DDR2 SDRAM. A Blu-ray disc drive was an option in some models. New with this latest version was a built-in optional AGIA physics card to enable PhysX enhanced titles take advantage of hardware-accelerated physics, the option for 64 GB solid-state drives, a backlit keyboard including a number pad, and a Logitech gaming LCD display above the keyboard. The model has been discontinued, likely because of Alienware's new M17X laptop, which is now sold at the same price as the XPS M1730. Criticism The M1730 has been criticized for its looks, increase in weight and size compared to previous models, and for having only marginal performance gains in select games. The last complaint is likely due to NVIDIA only having recently released a mobile version of the 8800M video card, which Dell added to the list of options following the release of the M1730. Upgrades. Following the initial release of the M1730, the option to have dual 8800M GTX graphics cards in SLI was made available. This is said to have a 174% power increase over the dual 8700M GTs in SLI, which were previously the highest available option. More recently, an option to have dual 9800M GT and 9800M GTX graphics cards in SLI has been added to the line. The 9800M GTX SLI is currently the highest supported graphics card with 1 GB GDDR3 VRAM for the M1730, as opposed to the 9800M GT SLI and 8800M GTX SLI only with 512 MB of available video memory and slightly higher amount of stream processors. Thus, performed slightly better than the 9800M GT and 8800M GTX cards. The availability of the 9800M GTX SLI is rare, and may only be purchased in limited Dell Direct outlets and on eBay. And in most cases, they are either out of stock, not on sale any longer, or selling the previous 9800M GT and 8800M GTX graphics cards. XPS M1530, this 15.4-inch laptop, released on November 28, 2007, features the Santa Rosa platform. The XPS M1530 is almost identical in design to the XPS M1330, except that it has 4 different colors and it is a bit thicker and heavier with a 15.4-inch CCFL or LED screen. It can be configured with Intel Core 2 Duo mobile processors up to T7800 per ton 9500/X9000, up to 8 GB DDR2 SDRAM at 667 MHz, up to 320 GB 5400 RPMs hard drive/500 GB 5400 RPMs, or with faster 160 GB or 240 GB 7200 RPMs, and up to 320 GB 7200 RPMs hard drive or an optional 128 GB solid-state drive, and can Be configured with a 128 MB DDR2 GeForce 8400GS or 256 MB DDR3 8600MGT GPU. Wireless Draft N is also available. The XPS M1530 includes a biometric fingerprint reader and a 2MP webcam. Another option for this laptop is a glossy 1920A 1200 display, even though it is 9 inches smaller than Dell's 24-inch monitor. The system weight starts at 2.62 kilograms and is dependent upon configuration. The laptop contains an internal slot for a Dell Mobile broadband card. XPS M1530 is no longer available for purchase on Dell's website as of early August 2009. Dell became aware that the problem was limited to NVIDIA chip production. The BIOS was updated to A12, which improves thermal control but does not prevent it from reoccurring. The problem associated with NVIDIA GPUs was the chip material used could not stand high temperatures. XPS M1330, this 13.3-inch high-end laptop, released on June 26, 2007, features the Santa Rosa platform. It features a 13.3-inch screen either with CCFL or WLED. The WLED backlit version has a 0.3MP camera, as opposed to the 2MP camera with the CCFL screen. The XPS 1330 with the WLED screen is thinner and brighter than the previous XPS 1210 version, the thinner WLED screen forcing the optics in the camera to be limited to 0.3MP. Moreover, XPS 1330 can also feature a biometric fingerprint reader, usually found in business-class laptops like the Latitude series. The XPS M1330 also offers the NVIDIA GeForce Go 8400MGS graphics card as an option. Originally, it could only be configured with Intel Core 2 Duo mobile processors up to T7700, but could later be configured with processors up to the Intel Core 2 Duo T9500. The XPS M1330 is also available in the red line along with other Dell computers. There have been several cases involving M1330 laptops to be cosmetically defective in manufacture, such as loose hinge covers and unusually and uneven gaps between plastic parts, as well as customer complaints concerning CPU whine. The Dell XPS M1330 is noted for its light weight of only 1.8 kilograms. XPS M1330 is no longer available for purchase on Dell's USA website as of early August 2009. It has been replaced by the M1340. Problems. Dell became aware that the problem was limited to NVIDIA chip production G84 and G86 GPUs. The BIOS was updated to A12, which improves thermal control but does not prevent it from reoccurring. The problem associated with NVIDIA GPUs was the chip material used could not stand high temperatures. This problem was exacerbated by poor thermal contact between the chip and the heat pipe. Some people have overcome the graphics chip overheating problem by fashioning a heat sink using a copper plate and thermal paste to fill the gap between the heat pipe and the graphics chip. Studio XPS 13, similar to the Studio XPS 16 but trimmed down into a 13.3-inch 720p 16:10 aspect ratio screen. It has an illuminated QWERTY keyboard and includes leather accents on the lid. Its full body is piano black and silver. The Studio XPS graphics offerings are currently the integrated NVIDIA 9400MG and the more powerful NVIDIA GeForce 9500MGE. When configured with the 9500MGE, you are able to switch between the 9400MG running standalone and the 9400MG with the 9200MGS in Windows Vista, without logging out and back in like you must with Apple products due to the availability of hybrid SLI. Although this model is still available in Europe with a 512 MB NVIDIA GeForce 210M graphics card and the NVIDIA GeForce MCP79MX chipset. Processors: Intel Core 2 Duo P7350, P8600, P8700, P8800, P9500, P9600 or P9700. Memory: 3 GB, 4 GB, 6 GB, or 8 GB of shared dual-channel DDR3 SDRAM at 1066 MHz. Chipset, NVIDIA 730i, graphics processor, integrated NVIDIA GeForce 9400MG graphics with 256 MB of graphics memory, or integrated 9400M plus a discrete GeForce 9200M, LCD display, 13.3-inch edge-to-edge CCFL backlit display with 1280 800 resolution or 13.3-inch edge-to-edge LED backlit display with 1280 800 resolution and true life. Hard drive, 250 GB, 320 GB or 500 GB SATA at 7200 RPMs or 256 GB solid-state drive. Optical drive, 8x slot load dual LED DVD plus/RW drive or 2x tray load Blu-ray disc combo drive. Battery, 6-cell or 6-cell with additional 9-cell lithium-ion battery. Camera, 1.3 MP or 2 MP webcam. Wi-Fi card, Dell Wireless 1510-800 2.11 mini card. Bluetooth, Dell Wireless Bluetooth internal 370. I/O ports, 1 USB 2.0 port, 1 USB eSATA combo port, 1 gigabit Ethernet port, 1 VGA output, 1 HDMI output, 1 DisplayPort output, 2 headphone jack, 1 microphone jack, 1 54mm express card slot, 1 8-inch-1 memory card reader, 1 IR receiver and 1 power adapter connector. XPS M1340 is no longer available for purchase on Dell's USA website as of March 2010. No replacement 13-inch Studio XPS has been announced. Gen 3 XPS M2010. The XPS M2010 was announced on May 31, 2006 as a top-of-the-line briefcase-styled mobile desktop with a 20.1-inch widescreen with a WSXGA Plus resolution and true life. The outside of the case had a leather-like appearance. The XPS M2010 used an ATI Mobility Radeon X1800 graphics with 256 MB of graphics memory and had support for dual hard drives. The laptop could be customized with an Intel Core 2 Duo T2500, T5600, T7400 or T7600 and 1 GB, 2 GB or 4 GB of DDR2 SDRAM at 667 MHz. The laptop expanded to a full desktop set, including a detachable Bluetooth keyboard, Bluetooth mouse, and radio frequency media center remote. It was praised for the high-quality sound system which included 8 separate 3/4 speakers below the screen and a 1 3/4 subwoofer on the bottom of the machine, ported to the right-hand side. While the computer could be folded and carried as a briefcase with its built-in carrying handle, at 18.3 pounds it was generally considered too heavy to be a true desktop replacement. XPS M1710. The XPS M1710 was announced on April 18, 2006 as a higher-end 17-inch WXGA True Life widescreen XPS desktop replacement available in black or red. The system was marketed to gamers, sharing a chassis design and many components with the lower-end Inspiron E1705/9400 and the higher-end Precision M90. The base design featured an Intel Core Duo processor, NVIDIA GeForce Go 7900 GS or 7900 GTX, 7200 RPMs SATA hard drive, DDR2 SDRAM, a magnesium alloy case with user-configurable multicolor LED lighting in the touchpad, fans, speakers and lid, access to an exclusive XPS-branded segment of Dell's business support division, and was built on the Precision M90's D-Dock motherboard. Later models offered the Core 2 Duo processor, the NVIDIA 7950 GTX, and optional Blu-ray. As the main board used the Intel 945 chipset, the XPS M1710 could not address more than 3.25 GB of RAM, though Dell specified up to 4 GB RAM. This computer was replaced by the XPS M1730. Note that there are severe overheating problems with the graphics card in this model. XPS M1210, a high-performance ultra-portable notebook featuring a new case design, Intel Core Duo processor technology, an optional dedicated NVIDIA GeForce 7400 Go video card and an optional integrated web camera. The M1210 also has optional WWAN features supporting 3G broadband services. With the standard battery, the laptop weighs 1.9 kilograms. Unlike other 12-inch notebook computers, the M1210 features a built-in optical drive rather than an external. This model was discontinued as of July 31, 2007. Gen 2, Inspiron XPS Gen 2/XPS M170, this successor to the Inspiron XPS, had replaced the desktop Pentium 4 with a Pentium M processor, which provided almost the same level of performance as the desktop Pentium 4 and reduced the weight from 9.06 pounds to 8.6 pounds. It featured a 17-inch widescreen display at the same resolution as the first generation. Due to the use of a mobile processor, this laptop was thinner and lighter than most other high-performance gaming notebooks of its time. It has a design very similar to the XPS M1710. It was initially given the NVIDIA GeForce 256MB 6800 Ultra Go GPU, which was a Dell exclusive at the time. The laptop was rebranded as XPS M170 soon after the GeForce Go 7800 GTX was incorporated. The Inspiron 9300 was based on it, being substantially the same laptop with an ATI Mobility Radeon X300 in the base model. XPS M140, the lower-end model XPS computer that has a chassis identical to an Dell Inspiron E1405 laptop. This model features a choice of several Intel mobile processors, 14.1-inch widescreen and between 512 MB to 2 GB of RAM. This model, being more media-oriented than gaming, currently does not feature a dedicated graphics card. This model has been replaced by the E1405, a 14.1-inch laptop physically similar to the M140. It features the newer Intel Core Duo processors and Intel's 945 chipset. It is no longer classified as an XPS laptop, however. Gen 1, Inspiron XPS, the first XPS laptop, which was a rebranded Inspiron 9100, was a very heavy desktop replacement laptop starting at 9.06 pounds without power supply. This was because it was offered with either a 3.4 GHz desktop Pentium 4 HT Prescott processor, or the 3.4 GHz Gallatin Pentium 4 Extreme Edition processor at the same clock speed, which gave off tremendous amounts of heat due to their high clock speeds and inefficient microarchitecture, despite a very large copper-based heatsink that spanned the width of the unit with 3 fans. Other features included a 1920 1215.4-inch LCD, and subwoofer integrated into the bottom of the battery casing. With the 12-cell battery, earlier models came with an ATI Mobility Radeon 9700 with 128 MB of memory, and later models with a Mobility Radeon 9800 with 256 MB of memory. It should be noted that the Mobility Radeon 9800 was based on the R420 core, the same as early ATI Radeon 10700 and X800 desktop graphics cards, but with half the pixel pipelines disconnected. A popular modification to the GPU was to bridge 2 traces in the top right corner of the PCB surrounding the exposed core with a conductive pen to unlock these pipelines. However, this could only be done on cores made before week 43 of 2004. Dell promised graphics card upgradability, but only delivered the arguably small 9700 to 9800 step for 9700 owners, and never delivered the promised upgrade to the 9800 owners. This model also suffers from an annoying whine on the headphone and microphone jacks that are located on the left of the unit. This is because of shared space with the leftmost fan, and the spinning of said fan causes interference. There is no known fix than to otherwise use a USB, FireWire/3094 or PCMCIA-based audio device or card for sound output. Special editions: Dell has introduced a handful of specialty models which were based upon particular models in the XPS series, but had unique characteristics. These included custom cases and higher performance parts. Some of these models are considerably rare because they were produced in limited quantities and were either extremely expensive or giveaway only. XPS 600 Renegade The first example of a special edition in Dell's XPS series was the XPS 600 Renegade released in early 2006, which included an Intel Pentium D Extreme Edition 965 processor that was overclocked at the factory from 3.73 GHz to 4.26 GHz. Despite the overclock, Dell honored Intel's warranty for the processor. The case featured an airbrush paint job completed by Mike Lavallee. Most notably, the machine was the first commercially available system to feature a quad SLI configuration, with 4 custom NVIDIA GeForce 7900 GTX graphics cards with 512 MB of memory. It also included a Western Digital hard drive spinning at 10,000 RPMs. The XPS 600 Renegade had an introduction price of $9,930. XPS X-Men giveaway In 2007 Dell announced a special X-Men version XPS desktop system that was going to be given away. The system had a value of around $10,000 and featured a one-of-a-kind quad NVIDIA video cards and Intel Pentium 965 Extreme Edition processor. The case resembled a standard XPS 710 series with X-Men artwork on the side. WOWM1730 At CES in 2008, Dell announced a World of Warcraft edition of the M1730 laptop. This version of the M1730 cost around $4,500 and featured an overclockable Intel Extreme Edition Core 2 Duo processor, NVIDIA SLI DX10 graphics cards, PhysX card, with a full HD 17-inch widescreen. It also came preloaded with World of Warcraft and Burning Crusade expansion, as well as other limited edition merchandise including a custom backpack. Red In March 2008, Dell introduced the XPS Red as a part of their line of products. A portion of the profits made on this special edition are being put towards research for a cure for the AIDS virus. As of July 2011 Dell is still offering Red products. References: Dell M1730 Service Manual, Dell M2010 Service Manual, Dell M2010 US Business Configurator, May Expire Change, Dell UK Store Configurator. Different options available. May Expire Change, Dell XPS 410 Product Details, Dell XPS M1730 Product Details, Dell XPS M1330 Product Details, Dell XPS 720H2C Product Details, Dell XPS 600 Renegade Product Details. May Expire Change, Dell XPS Generation 2 FAQ. Subject to change, Dell XPS M1710 Product Review by PC Magazine, December 11, 2006, Dell XPS M1710 on Wikispecs, Dell XPS M1330 Windows 7 64-bit driver Dell XPS 1 by Driver Hunter, Overview of the Dell XPS 1 by Engadget, Dell XPS M1530 Product Review by Practical PC, April 2008. External links: Dell XPS Notebooks, Dell XPS Laptops, Dell XPS Desktops, Dell XPS 210, Official Dell XPS website, Official Dell E3 product page.